Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to be doing my updated election prediction for Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. My last election prediction for Joe Biden versus Donald Trump was on January 18th, prior to the Iowa caucuses. At that time, he was actually doing very well. He was winning in the polls in Iowa, in New Hampshire, in Nevada, and South Carolina. Now, looking at this updated in February now, he has lost Iowa. He did very poorly. He did even worse in New Hampshire. He came fifth place. He is, I think, going to lose in Nevada, and then it could get even worse with South Carolina, especially with Michael Bloomberg doing even better now. So we're going to be doing the election prediction. If he is able to make it to the nomination, the betting odds aren't in favor of him, and the polls aren't in favor of him either. But if he does win the nomination, we are going to be doing the general election prediction if he faces off against Donald Trump, assuming he wins the nomination. So we'll start off doing the safe states. As always, North Dakota, South Dakota, all of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and that is going to be it. So 125 safe electoral votes for Donald Trump. Then for Joe Biden, you'd win all these states safe, including Oregon. Hillary Clinton won it safe. I don't see why Joe Biden would not, even with Antifa and everything like that. Illinois, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and D.C. A lot of people saying Delaware could be closer. It could be closer, but not with Joe Biden because he was a senator there. Same thing with New Jersey. He went through New Jersey a lot when he was senator there, and it is a blue state. It likes people, corporate establishment people like Joe Biden. So now, as well as Maine's 1st District would be safe for him. So that puts Joe Biden at 183 safe electoral votes to Donald Trump's 125 safe electoral votes. Now we'll do next by filling off the likely, lean, and tilt states. I think we'll start on the East Coast here. She will start in here. I think Virginia will go likely. It has been trending blue. A lot of the people in Fairfax County and all the counties around there have been trending blue, especially since it first went blue for a long time in 2008. They voted for Barack Obama and Joe Biden both times, and Donald Trump underperformed here in a year where he did very well in 2016. Of all the states, he didn't do very well here at all, a state that he could have won. And so for that reason, he'll go by a likely margin. He'll continue treads voting for another establishing candidate like Joe Biden. North Carolina will go lean. It'll be by a bit closer of a margin than it was in 2016. In 2016, he won by just around 5 points. I think this time it'll probably be around 4, which would put it at a lean margin. You know, you've got Tom Tillis, who's very unpopular here. Many of those people may vote for Cal Cunningham and then vote for Joe Biden, but not enough to make it a victory for Joe Biden, but it would be closer. Georgia would also be a lean state. It has been trending blue, as I've talked about before. I think Joe Biden's really the only one who could actually harness those to the best of the Democrats' ability, being able to turn out the black vote while also harnessing the trending suburban vote. I think Joe Biden's the only one that can do that, but he'd still end up losing it by a lean margin. Florida would go by a tilt margin, just due to the fact that Biden was able to win it both times. He is popular and can get a lot of the vote out in Miami-Dade, Broward County, Palm Beach County, the 3 main counties for the Democrats, while also maybe winning some counties in the Panhandle or in Tampa Bay or in Pensacola, whatever. He won't win it, but it'll be within 1 point. Like if Hillary Clinton, who did campaign there a lot, got it within 1.5 percentage points, who was very unpopular in the state and couldn't win it in the primaries, and in the primaries in 2008, it wasn't very unpopular here in general, whereas Joe Biden was able to win it. It'll be closer, but Donald Trump will still end up winning it. Going to Texas here, it'll be by a likely margin. I used to say that it would go by a lean margin, but that would be within 5 points. I think you saw the House District of Texas. It was a very wide margin of victory for a state that the Democrats campaigned in a lot. You see a lot of this suburban vote is actually not trending Democratic as fast as people would have thought. Ted Cruz was just a very unpopular candidate, and in a wave year, many of those votes went to Beto O'Rourke. And so to do with that, it did go by a likely margin technically in 2016. Hillary Clinton lost it by 9. I think this time it'll probably be around 6 to 7 if Joe Biden was the candidate. And a lot of this is assuming that Joe Biden can run a smooth campaign. A lot of his comments are very, not the best comments considering the world we live in today. A lot of things he's done in the past, and a lot of things he says now would not fly with a lot of people. Whether he can turn out a lot of voters in Texas, that won't be as big a deal, but in some other states, as we'll see later in the prediction, you will see it might make a bit of an impact. With New Mexico, I think it'll go likely. Some people are arguing that it could be lean. It was by an 8-point victory for Hillary Clinton in 2016, although Gary Johnson did get 8% of the vote. I think a lot of that Gary Johnson vote won't exist. Third party might get around 2%. And so most of that vote would go to Donald Trump, but I think you'd see a lot of Donald Trump. So, I mean, he has helped Missouri, you could argue, but I still think that it'll go by a likely margin. If Joe Biden was a candidate, he was able to win New Mexico by a large margin. Colorado will also go by likely margin. This is a more left-leaning state. You could argue it's probably going to go to Bernie Sanders on Super Tuesday. It went to him last time. And he did have some losses in the 2014 midterms, for example, when Cory Gardner won, but when he was vice president. But Colorado is a more blue state now. If Hillary Clinton was able to win it by around 5 points, I think, so I don't see why Joe Biden would lose it by any less than that. Arizona will go by tilt margin. You see that the Senate seat Democrats were able to win with a moderate by 2.5 percentage points. Joe Biden is a moderate. I mean, he's not as moderate as some people say he is, but he is still a moderate, and Arizona is trending blue. There will be more trends now than there will be in 2018, and although it won't be a wave year anymore, we can assume it'll be very close, but Donald Trump will still end up winning it by 1 point. Donald Trump's not very popular in the suburbs, which he'll have to work on come the election day, but he'll end up winning it by tilt margin. Nevada will go by a lean margin. A lot of people have been saying that Joe Biden could lose this state, not just in the primary, but in the general election. But I think he can do well enough with minority voters in Las Vegas suburbs, in those kind of areas, that would give Joe Biden enough support to get a victory by a lean margin, similar to what Hillary Clinton got in 2016. The state of, or we'll do Nebraska second, we'll go by a lean margin. It really was just a fluke to go to Joe Biden by to go to Joe Biden and Obama in 2008. It hasn't really gone any time since then. I don't think at any time it's gone blue except for then. I think it'll just be by a lean margin this time, similar to what it was last time. Similar to Iowa, but not completely similar. Iowa will go by a likely margin. It did go by 10 points. I think it might be a little bit less than that. Although Joe Biden wasn't very popular here, wasn't able to do very well. He will be able to make it by a likely margin, but still lose by a very large margin. These states are trending. Ohio will go by a likely margin. This state is trending as well, just because they voted in Sherrod Brown by 7 points during a wave year. A 3-term incumbent, or 2-term incumbent technically, does not mean that he's going to, Joe Biden or any Democrat is going to make it very close. Even with Joe Biden, it'll be by a likely margin, possibly a lean margin, but even that I think is unlikely. Minnesota will go by a lean margin. Hillary Clinton was able to win the state, and Joe Biden will be able to win it as well. I just really cannot see this state flipping. I could put this at a tilt margin, but I think it'll go by around 1.5 percentage points. I just don't think that Joe Biden could end up picking somebody like Amy Klobuchar as his VP pick, or someone like Tammy Baldwin, something to do with that. But I think at the end of the day, it'll end up going by lean margin, just because of the fact that even in the midterms, when Amy Klobuchar won by 20 points, Tina Smith won by 10 points, you won't see enough of a trend back to the GOP to be able to win those states. We'll go up to the Northeast here. I do think New Hampshire is going to be a flip for Donald Trump. The only flip of the night, you'll see, the only flip of the night for Donald Trump. He'll win it by a tilt margin. Joe Biden did very poorly here in New Hampshire. A lot of people just aren't impressed with him. They're not excited by him. And he would end up losing this state by a tilt margin, barely losing it. And it wouldn't make a big difference in the grander scheme of things unless there'd be a certain mathematical way the states could go that New Hampshire would make a difference. But I think that Donald Trump is actually pretty popular here. He would only have to hold a couple rallies here to get a lot of voters. And at the end of the day, he'd end up winning it. Maine at large will go likely Dem, and Maine second will go lean. It was a flip in 2018, and although it has been trending red, Joe Biden will be able to get enough votes, not similar to New Hampshire. He'll be able to get enough votes to win Maine at large by a larger margin, while losing Maine second to by only a lean margin. Now, Donald Trump here is at 264 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 228 electoral votes. This is a similar situation to what we saw in 2016, with the exception of New Hampshire. We'll get to these three Rust Belt states now. I do think Wisconsin is going to be a tilt margin. It only in a wave year, Scott Walker only lost by 1.5 percentage points, and that was a very close and contested election. And I think that in non-wave year, even if you have Joe Biden, who's a candidate considered to be who considers himself and considered by a lot to be the most electable candidate out of all the Dems, he is winning the polls here. But I think you can only take that you have to take that lightly. But I do think that with Michigan, it will be by a tilt margin. Hillary Clinton only lost this state by about 11,000 votes, and I just don't think Donald Trump's going to be able to get enough, harness enough. Joe Biden will be able to get enough of the vote. Donald Trump, there are a lot of voters that will vote on him based on the economy, but he will lose some voters based on his character, based on the policies they might not like. And it'll only take 11,000 voters to make that difference. And you see, Debbie Stabenow won it by 7. I think she won it by 7 in 2018. And I don't think you'll see a whole 7-point shift back to the Republican column, even if Republican turnout is higher. I think you'll see a lot of Trump hatred that will revert this state back to the way it was in 2008, 2012. Not by as large a margin, but it will be very tight. But as you can see, Donald Trump's already at 274. And to put the icing on the cake, he will win New Hampshire. Not New Hampshire, Pennsylvania. Donald Trump will win the state of Pennsylvania. Joe Biden really hasn't lived here in like 70 years. He moved when he was like 6 or something. He really doesn't have much attached in this state. He was senator from Delaware. He doesn't really have anything to do with Pennsylvania anymore. Just because he was born there doesn't really mean that much. And although he is up by 7 points in the polls, you know, I think that would tighten. Joe Biden isn't the best campaigner. We saw he wasn't very organized in his campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire, and he just wouldn't be able to eke out a victory in Pennsylvania. Turnout from the Bernie Bros would not be very high in places like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, and he would end up losing it very narrowly, but he would end up losing it. And so you have the whole election decided by about a difference of about 100,000 votes between Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. I don't think Donald Trump is going to gain many voters from what he got in 2016, but I think he'll be able to hold on to it. You see, his approval ratings has been rising. He's been able to solidify his base while gaining a little bit, and I think that would give him a victory even against Joe Biden, who is considered to be the most electable candidate by some. I do believe that still to be true, but I still think that Donald Trump's victory is more than likely. You see, this prediction has changed from before. Before I predicted Joe Biden to win, now I predict Donald Trump to win. But this, however, is completely subject to change. However, Joe Biden, he could do very well in the primaries. He could do very, very poorly. And we'll just see how it turns out. But this is how I would predict the election with Donald Trump and Joe Biden to be 294 for Donald Trump, 244 for Joe Biden. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. Please like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys later.